Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real today, something that took me a long time to learn. If you live your whole life trying to please everybody, you will end up disappointing the one person who matters the most, yourself. See, too many of us wake up every day wearing a mask. We act a certain way, talk a certain way, chase a certain life, not because it's what we want, but because it's what other people expect from us. And I'm here to tell you today that is the fastest way to lose yourself. You were not created to be a copy of somebody else's expectations. God didn't make you with your gift, your talent, your vision, so you could shrink it down to fit into someone else's comfort zone. Some people are only comfortable with you as long as you stay small, as long as you don't change, as long as you don't outgrow them. But growth makes people uncomfortable, and that's okay. That's not your problem. One of the biggest traps you will ever fall into in life is the need for validation. Wanting someone to clap for you, approve of you, agree with you, or tell you that you are doing the right thing. Let me tell you something straight today. If you wait for everybody to understand you before you move, you will never move. You'll be standing still your whole life, holding a dream that never gets used, because you are too busy checking to see who is watching. See, validation feels good, and it is dangerous. It makes you dependent on people who are not responsible for your future. The moment you start needing approval, you start adjusting yourself. You start lowering your standards, changing your behavior, shrinking your vision, all just to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be. And the crazy part is this. The same people you're trying to impress are often confused about their own lives. You don't need permission to be who God created you to be. Your calling didn't come with a vote. Nobody got a committee and decided your purpose. It was placed inside you before you were even born. So why are you give it to you, whether you should use it or not? That doesn't make sense. When you seek validation, you give people power they never earn. Power to discourage you, power to delay you, power to make you doubt yourself. One negative comment can erase 100 positive ones if you let it. And that's because you handed your confidence over to somebody else. Confidence was never meant to live outside of you. Let me tell you something real. Everybody who claps for you at the beginning won't clap for you in the middle. And some won't clap for you at the end. Some people only support you as long as you're not doing better than them. As soon as you start growing, they get quiet. As soon as you change, they say you've changed. But growth requires change. You cannot become better and stay the same at the same time. Stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. The more you explain, the more you drain yourself. People who truly care don't need long explanations, and people who don't care will never be satisfied, no matter how much you say. Silence is sometimes strength. Validation is addictive. Like praise, approval, it can make you forget why you started. You begin performing instead of living. You start chasing applause instead of purpose. And applause fades. It always does. But purpose lasts. There will be moments when nobody believes in you. Moments when people laugh at your idea. Moments when your own family doubts you. That does not mean you are wrong. It means you are early. Visionaries are always misunderstood at first. If everybody understands what you're doing immediately, you're probably not dreaming big enough. You have to learn how to spin along without feeling lonely. That's maturity. That's growth. That's when you stop asking, what will they think, and start asking, is this right for me? The moment you answer that question honestly, your life begins to change. Stop waiting for a sign from people when you already got confirmation from God. Stop looking for approval when you already feel the pull inside your spirit. That pull is not random. That restlessness is not confusion. That's your calling trying to wake you up. When you stop seeking validation, you move faster. You take risks. You trust yourself. You fail without falling apart. You succeed without arrogance. You become free. Free from opinions, free from fear, free from comparison. And let me say this clearly. Living without validation does not make you arrogant. It makes you grounded. It doesn't mean you don't listen. It means you choose wisely who you listen to. Everybody's voice should not have access to your heart. The moment you decide that you don't need permission to live your life, something powerful happens. You stand taller. You walk with purpose. You stop asking the crowd which direction to go because you finally understand that your path was never meant to be crowded in the first place. Let me talk to you today about purpose, because purpose is personal. A lot of people miss their calling not because they aren't talented, but because they are too busy trying to live a life that makes sense to everybody else. See, the mistake we make is thinking our life is supposed to be understood by the crowd. It's not. Your life is an assignment, and assignments are given to individuals, not groups. You weren't created to follow the same path as everyone around you. If that were the case, there would be no need for your unique gift. God could have just made another version of somebody else, but He didn't. He made you with your specific struggles, your specific background, your specific hunger, because all of that is connected to what you're supposed to do. And when you ignore that, when you keep trying to fit into someone else's plan, you feel empty, frustrated, restless, even when things look good on the outside. Purpose will often pull you away from people you love, not because you don't love them, but because you can't grow in the same environment forever. Some people only know the old version of you, and they want to keep you there. They remind you of who you used to be, not who you're becoming. And if you let them, they'll anchor you to a past God already released you from. A lot of people confuse being liked with being fulfilled. Being liked feels good, but fulfillment feels right. And there's a big difference. You can be liked and still feel lost. You can be praised and still feel empty because applause doesn't equal alignment. Just for people support what you're doing doesn't mean it's what you're supposed to be doing. When you start walking in purpose, you will disappoint people. That's unavoidable. Some folks had plans for you that God never approved. They saw you in a role that benefited them, not you. And when you step out of that role, they feel uncomfortable. But discomfort is the price of growth. You cannot evolve without it. Stop asking people to understand your vision. They don't have to. Vision is given to the carrier, not the crowd. Noah looked crazy building an ark when was no rain. If he had waited for approval, he would have never finished. Sometimes obedience looks foolish before it looks fruitful. Purpose requires solitude, their isolation, but separation. There will be seasons where you have to pull back, get quiet, and listen. Noise confuses purpose. Opinions dilute clarity. That's why every major breakthrough in your life will come after a season of silence. When you stop listening to everybody else, you finally hear what you've been ignoring inside. Let me tell you something important. Your purpose will cost you comfort. You can't have the life you want and keep the habits that are holding you back. You can't become who meant to be and stay surrounded by everything that keeps you average. Elevation requires separation. You will make mistakes. You will take wrong turns. That's part of the process. But failing while chasing your purpose is better than succeeding at something that doesn't fulfill you. At least failure teaches you. At least it moves you. Staying stuck teaches you nothing. When you live in purpose, your decisions change. You stop doing things just because everybody else is doing them. You stop measuring success by other people's timelines. You stop rushing. You stop panicking. You trust the process because you know you're walking in the right direction. Even if the road is lonely, purpose gives you peace. Not because life gets easier, but because your spirit is aligned. And when you're aligned, even hard seasons make sense. Even delays have meaning. Even setbacks have lessons. So if you feel out of place, if you feel different, if you feel like you don't fit anymore, that's not a problem. That's a signal. It means you're growing. It means your purpose is calling you forward. And the moment you stop trying to live a life that pleases everyone else and start living the life you were designed for, everything begins to shift. One of the most powerful words you will ever learn to use in your life is the word no. And I don't mean no with anger, no with explanation, no with fear. I mean no with peace. See, a lot of people are exhausted, frustrated, and stuck. Not because life is too hard, but because they keep saying yes to things that are draining the life out of them. You are tired because you are overcommitted to people, situations, and expectations that were never assigned to you. Let me tell you something real. Every yes costs you something. Time, energy, focus, peace. And when you say yes to the wrong things, you are automatically saying no to the right ones. You can't do everything and still do the most important thing. Well, that's not how life works. Guilt is the main reason people struggle to say no. You don't want to hurt feelings. You don't want to seem ungrateful. You don't want people to think you've changed. But growth requires change. And if people only like you when you are always available, always agreeing, always sacrificing yourself, then they don't like you. They like access to you. You have to understand this clearly. Boundaries are not disrespectful. Boundaries are instructions. They teach people how to treat you. If you don't set them, people will keep taking and you will keep breaking. And then you'll start resenting people for things you allowed. Saying no doesn't make you selfish. It makes you responsible. Responsible for your mental health. Responsible for your purpose. Responsible for the life God gave you. You cannot fulfill your calling while carrying everybody else's expectations on your back. That weight will crush you. Some of you are saying yes out of fear. Fear of being left out. Fear of being talked about. Fear of being rejected. But let me tell you something. People will talk whether you say yes or no. So you might as well choose peace. Rejection doesn't kill you. Living a life that isn't yours does. When you start saying no, people will test you. They'll push. They'll guilt you. They'll say things like, "You've changed," or "You're not the same anymore." And they're right. You're not. You're evolving. You're learning to protect what matters. You don't ever want an explanation. Silence is an answer. Distance is an answer. Your well-being does not need a long speech. People who truly respect you will adjust. People who don't reveal themselves. Either way, you get clarity. Let me tell you something important. Jesus said no. He walked away from crowds. He rested. He withdrew. And if saying no was necessary for him, what makes you think you can live without it? You are not built to pour endlessly without refilling. Burnout is not a badge of honor. It's a warning sign. Every time you say no to what drains you, you say yes to what builds you. Yes to your dreams. Yes to your health. Yes to your peace. Yes to your future. And the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. At first, it feels uncomfortable, but discomfort is temporary. Regret lasts much longer. You have to stop apologizing for choosing yourself. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to prioritize your growth. People who benefit from your exhaustion will always complain when you start protecting your energy. Here's the truth. Not everyone deserves access to you. Access is earned, not assumed. Just because someone has been in your life for a long time doesn't mean they have the right to every version of you. Some people were meant for who you were, not who you're becoming. When you learn to say no without guilt, you gain something priceless. Freedom. freedom from people-pleasing, freedom from resentment, freedom from living on everybody else's schedule. You start moving with intention instead of obligation. And let me say this clearly, your purpose requires focus. Focus requires boundaries. Boundaries require no. You cannot live a meaningful life without disappointing some people along the way. That's not failure. That's alignment. So stop over-explaining, stop overextending, say no when you need to, walk away when it's time, protect your peace like your future depends on it, because it does. One of the hardest lessons you will ever learn in life is this. No matter how good your intentions are, no matter how pure your heart is, you are going to disappoint people, and the sooner you accept that, the free you become. A lot of people are stuck because they are trying to live a life that guarantees everyone else's happiness. But that kind of life does not exist. See, disappointment is not always a sign that you did something wrong. Sometimes it's just proof that you chose yourself. And when you start choosing yourself, people who benefited from the old version of you are going to feel let down. Not because you became bad, but because you stopped being convenient. You have to understand this clearly. You are not responsible for managing everybody else's expectations. Some people imagine a future for you that never matched what God put inside you. They pictured you staying the same, thinking the same, needing the same things. And when you grow out of that picture, they feel uncomfortable. But that discomfort is not your burden to carry. A lot of us delay our destiny because we're afraid of disappointing family, friends, co-workers, even strangers. We keep saying, "Let me do this for a little longer," or "Let me wait until they're ready." But what if they're never ready? What if your growth requires a decision they will never agree with? You can't keep living your life on pause, waiting for people to catch up to who you're becoming. Time doesn't wait. Opportunities don't wait. Purpose doesn't wait. And every time you choose comfort over calling, you pay for it with regret. Let me tell you something real. People will celebrate your success as long as it doesn't challenge their own. The moment you change, the moment you elevate, the moment you stop needing their approval, some people will pull back. They'll say you're different. They'll say you're acting brand new. But growth always looks like arrogance to people who are committed to staying the same. You have to make peace with being misunderstood. Everybody will not get you, and they don't have to. Clarity is not your responsibility. Obedience is you don't need a unanimous vote to move forward. You need courage. Disappointing people hurts, especially when they matter to you. I'm not saying it doesn't, but hurting yourself to keep others comfortable hurts more, and it lasts longer. When you constantly put your dreams on the shelf to keep the peace, resentment starts growing inside you. And resentment will poison even the relationships you are trying to protect. Sometimes people aren't mad that you changed. They're mad that they didn't. Your growth reminds them of what they avoided. Your courage exposes their fear. And instead of dealing with that, they label you as the problem. You have to learn how to carry disappointment without carrying guilt. Guilt will make you second, guess decisions that were right for you. Guilt will make you turn back when you are finally moving forward, and guilt will keep you stuck in a role you were meant to outgrow. Let me say this. Loving people does not mean living your life according to their comfort level. You can love people and still say no. You can respect people and still choose a different path. You can honor people and still outgrow them. There will be moments when people don't support your decision. Moments when they stop calling. Moments when they look at you differently. And in those moments, you have to remind yourself why you started. You have to remember the nights you prayed for change. The frustration you felt staying the same, the hunger you had for more. Don't forget that just because someone else is uncomfortable now, growth requires emotional strength, strength to sit with disappointment, strength to move forward without applause, strength to trust that doing what's right for you is better than being liked by everyone. And here's the truth. The people who are meant to stay in your life will adjust. They may not understand at first, but they will respect your growth. The ones who leave were only connected to who you were, not who you're becoming. So stop trying to avoid disappointing people. It's part of the journey. Choose alignment over approval. Choose purpose over comfort. Choose growth over guilt. Because at the end of the day, you have to live with your choices. And you deserve a life that feels true to who you really are. One of the most important decisions you will ever make in your life is whose voice you are going to trust. And I'm here to tell you today, if you trust people's opinions more than God's vision for your life, you will stay confused, delayed, and frustrated because people see you through the lens of who you were. But God sees you through the lens of who you are meant to become. People judge based on evidence. God moves based on promise. People ask how. God asks, do you trust me? And that's where most folks get stuck. You want a guarantee before you move. You want confirmation before you step out. But faith doesn't work like that. Faith requires movement first. The proof comes later. Let me tell you something real. If God gives you a vision, He does not give it to everyone around you. He gives it to you. That's why everybody won't understand it. That's why everybody won't support it. That's why some people will try to talk you out of it. They're not hearing what you're hearing because it wasn't meant for them. Too many people quit too early because they listen to the wrong voices. They let fear sound like wisdom. They let doubt sound like concern. They let negativity disguise itself as being realistic. But realism without faith will keep you stuck exactly where you are. People will tell you what makes sense to them, but your life is not required to make sense to anyone else. If God waited for things to make sense before blessing people, nothing in the Bible would have happened. Walking on water doesn't make sense. Splitting a sea doesn't make sense. Turning pain into purpose doesn't make sense. But it happens anyway. Here's the problem. When you trust people's opinions too much, you start editing your dream, you shrink it, you delay it, you compromise it. You start saying things like, maybe I'll do it later, or maybe I'll try something smaller. But that vision didn't come in pieces. It came whole, and every time you water it down, you step further away from what was meant for you. Let me say this clearly. People mean well, but they are limited by their own experiences. They project their fears onto your future. They tell you what didn't work for them and assume it won't work for you. But your path is different. Your calling is different. Your grace is different. God will often ask you to move before you feel ready. He'll ask you to let go before you feel secure. He'll ask you to step out when the numbers don't add up. And if you wait until everybody agrees, you will miss the moment. There will be times when you feel alone in your decision. Times when the support disappears. Times when you question yourself. That's when trust matters most. Because trust is not believing when it's easy. It's believing when it's uncomfortable. Let me tell you something. God has never failed you, not once. People have, situations have, expectations have, but God hasn't. So why do we put more confidence? You're people who change than in a God who doesn't. You're going to have to learn how to walk without applause. How to move without encouragement. How to obey without understanding everything. That's not weakness. That's faith. And faith always gets rewarded, even if the reward doesn't come immediately. Stop asking people if you should chase the dream God put in your heart. Stop calling the crowd about a decision God already confirmed in your spirit. The crowd didn't give you the vision, and they can't take it away unless you let them. Trusting God's vision doesn't mean the road will be easy. It means it will be worth it. There will be setbacks. There will be delays. There will be moments where you wonder if you heard him right. But every step you take in obedience builds something inside you that opinions can't destroy. One day, the same people who doubted you will ask you how you did it. Not because you proved them wrong, but because you trusted God enough to keep going when it didn't make sense. So stop letting opinions overpower purpose. Stop letting fear interrupt faith. Trust what God showed you, even if no one else sees it yet, because vision comes before victory. And if you stay obedient long enough, what God promised you in private will eventually show up in public. Let me talk to you about peace, because peace is expensive. Not money expensive, but life expensive. It will cost you people. It will cost you explanations. It will cost you approval. And that's why so many people don't have it. They would rather lie stressed, anxious, and exhausted than risk being misunderstood. Most people are tired, not because they're doing too much, but because they are trying to be too much for too many people. I wake up every day checking messages, reading opinions, adjusting themselves based on how someone else feels. And little by little, they lose touch with themselves. That's the price of living for approval. Approval is addictive. When people clap, you feel good. When they agree, you feel safe. But the moment your peace depends on other people's reactions, you are no longer free. You are performing. You are pretending. You are living on a stage that never closes. Let me tell you something real. You cannot have inner peace and constant approval at the same time. One of them has to go. Peace requires honesty. Approval often requires pretending. Peace requires boundaries. Approval requires access. Peace requires courage. Approval requires fear. Every time you silence your truth to keep someone comfortable, you lose peace. Every time you agree when you don't mean it, you lose peace. Every time you stay away just so people don't talk, you lose peace. And the scary part is people will still talk. Some of you are exhausted because you're living a life that looks good to everyone else but feels wrong to you. You're smiling on the outside and breaking on the inside. You keep saying, "I'm fine," but your spirit is tired. That's what happens when you prioritize being liked over being aligned. Peace doesn't come from applause. It comes from truth, from knowing you are living in a way that matches who you really are. And that kind of peace doesn't need validation. It doesn't need explanation. It just feels right. Let me say this clearly. Not everyone deserves access to your peace. Some people thrive on chaos. Some people need drama to feel alive. And when you decide to protect your peace, they'll call you distant, cold, or changed. But peace looks like distance to people who benefited from your stress. You don't owe everybody your time, your energy, or your emotions. You are allowed to step back. You are allowed to get quiet. You are allowed to choose calm over chaos. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Inner peace requires hard decisions. Decisions like walking away from conversations that drain you, saying no without explaining, letting people be wrong about you, choosing rest over proving a point. Peace means you stop arguing with people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You have to understand this. Constant approval keeps you busy, but peace keeps you whole. Approval will have you chasing opinions. Peace will have you grounded. Approval changes with the room. Peace stays with you wherever you go. When you choose peace, you stop reacting to everything. You stop defending yourself against every comment. You stop needing everyone to understand you, and that's when you mature, because maturity is realizing that you're well. Being is more important than winning an argument. Some people won't like the peaceful version of you, the version that no longer argues, the version that no longer over-explains, the version that no longer shows up to everything, and that's okay. Your peace is not up for negotiation. Let me tell you something powerful. God is a God of peace, not confusion, and when you're constantly anxious, stressed, and torn, that's a sign something is out of alignment. Peace doesn't mean life is perfect. It means your spirit is settled. Even when life is challenging, you will never find peace trying to be everything to everyone. You will only find it when you decide to be honest with yourself. When you stop asking, "Do they like me?" and start asking, "Does this cost me my peace?" Choosing peace may accept that some doors will close, some relationships will fade, some people will leave, but what you gain is clarity, focus, strength, and a life that feels like it belongs to you. So stop trading your peace for approval. Stop sacrificing your well-being just to be accepted. Choose calm, choose alignment, choose yourself.